So, ladies and gentlemen, Ralph Remington, how are you, my friend?
Good. How are you, my friend?
I'm good. I'm good. Ralph is an old friend of mine and someone I have known for some time. I'm so grateful that it's you today having this conversation, because Ralph and I talked on the phone earlier today, and one of the things that we were talking about is it feels irresponsible to be doing a show as a civic leader or talking about the arts and the power that they can heal without talking about what is happening in the world today, and talking about George Floyd, and talking about that there are cities currently on fire. Mm-hmm. And the thing I did not want to do, right, is I did not want to bring Ralph on the show and ask Ralph to speak for all African Americans, but I want to figure out how can we as an organization kind of be more involved in these conversations, and what is it that we should be doing? How should we be listening? What are the conversations we should be having at a time that it feels like this is the national dialogue that's happening in our country? And what is the responsibility of an arts organization, the State Theater, in that moment?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think, first of all, thanks for having me, adjust my camera there. It's a tragic day. I mean, it's a tragic week right now. My heart is breaking. I love Minneapolis. It's a city that I consider my home. It's my adopted home. I lived there for the better part of 16 years. I built an institution there, Pillsbury House Theater. I made law there as a city council member in the city of Minneapolis. And I know those streets. I know the people really well. I know all the elected officials that you're seeing on television and all the public officials very well. And I just can't believe what I'm witnessing in one sense, and then I can in another. And I think at this moment, art is about speaking to social change and speaking to the ills of white supremacy in the society and what it has bred, and how it continues to fester and destroy our people, all of humanity, but particularly people of color.
And the thing I always struggle with, right, is that like I'm a white guy and I run essentially a white organization. So on what level should we be listening at this moment? How can we be helpful? What are the things we should be listening for? What are the things that we're missing and that we're failing in terms of dialogue that should be happening?
Well, I think these institutions are largely built on Eurocentric models. And, we expect the community to come to these palaces that we have and to enjoy all the riches and the luxuries of palatial living. And they're multi-million-dollar places. They're built like palaces. They have tufted carpets and they beautiful surroundings and picturesque settings. And but it really doesn't say much about the community that surrounds it. And I think for artists, for theater artists, it's almost like getting back to the root. We have to get back to the root of who we are. Go to the people, go to these communities, and make your art in the community as concurrently as you're making your art in your palaces. It's the way most non-Western societies receive art. It's just part and parcel of the way they live, like drinking water or breathing air. That's how we look at art in other parts of the world. But America and the Western world has made it this thing for the elite. And I think the problem begins there.
So what is the role of art and arts organizations on days like today, where they're, I lived in Louisville for years, right? There's 7 people shot in Louisville last night, and you from Minneapolis, and both these cities are on fire currently mm-hmm. at this moment as we're mm-hmm. having this conversation. Mm-hmm. So what is the role of arts organizations and art in itself in these moments?
I think for our institutions, they have to be community gathering halls, town halls for people to come together. Now, of course, we're in a time of COVID, so it's very challenging because you can't put people all together in one place in an enclosed environment right now. So what you're doing right now is extremely important, having these conversations. The way we live our lives, you know, do we associate with people of color in our everyday lives? Do white people do that? How many white people have had? Most white people that I know, believe it or not, have never had a person of color in their home, have never had a person of color to dinner, have never maybe have that one person of color as a token at their cocktail party or their dinner party, but they live in white havens, usually all over America, and they never come in contact with people of color at all. So you can't just kind of disconnect, have one part that's your life. You know, they're not married to people of color typically. They're having white babies. They're living white environments. They speak in white tongue. So you can't have that and then go to work and be something totally different. And like, now I'm woke. Now I'm for the people. Now I want to be with the community. It's all part of the same thing. So we have to live our lives and change our lives in ways that are compatible with making revolutionary changes in society.
So you think it starts on the small level at home, who you work with, who you talk to, who your friends are, who's at dinner at your table.
Exactly. And then from there, what you read. Are you reading things that are feeding you? White Fragility by Robin DiAngelo is a great place for white people to start because it's something that they can digest and pick up and look at what white fragility does and white supremacy does. Then from there, they can have other readings, but they need to read that book again and again and again and digest it. And then from there, take action. What do you do? Are you dismantling racism in your community, white supremacy in your community, in your places of worship, in your workplaces? What are you doing? What are you saying? Are you calling it out? Are you present? Are you showing up for people of color? White people have to show up for people of color because people of color can't do it on our own. We're easily demonized and vilified and killed. And I've been on the receiving end of all of that except being killed yet. So, and I'm not hopeful. That may happen because I don't keep my mouth shut.
Well, I mean, actually, like when I saw what was happening and I knew that it was you today, I was like, if there's one person I know who I'm going to call and say, let's get real on the show today, you're going to be like, I was already going to do it. So I'm glad that you were thinking the same thing.
I mean, you can't talk about anything. What else can you talk about if you're present as an artist and you speak up to the moment and to the community and for the community, and the communities are burning across America at the same time that we're having a global pandemic? I mean, if this is dystopia, we are living in dystopic times, and it's no longer fiction. This is where we are.
Have you been in contact with people back in Minneapolis? Do you have, talk to friends there today?
Yes, I'm in constant contact with friends in Minneapolis, in text and social media, a lot of social media, some phone calls. I was up until midnight last night speaking with a friend in Minneapolis on the ground and talking about what they're experiencing. It's horrific for them. They can't believe what they're witnessing. Their heart is breaking and they live there. I mean, my heart's breaking and I'm, hundreds of miles away, but their heart is breaking. Their literal communities and their homes are breaking apart because of negligence. Really, this is all negligence. We've known these problems exist. We just have chosen, in every sector of our community, have chosen to ignore it, and then until it pipes up, and then we try to band-aid it and then go back to normal.
I have a good friend, John Carr, who we talked about today, who is the new artistic director at Dad's Garage.
Yeah.
Like, very charming African-American guy. And, his whole post today was like, he remembers his parents driving him through the riots in LA 20 years ago. And that's burned into his mind. And so, like, he's happy everybody's involved today, but he feels like, let's not act like this hasn't been going on for decades and that anything new is going on.
It's not new. It's not new. And that's what makes it so infuriating. And I posted about this, but I said they'll probably arrest. There'll probably be some arrests, which they did take someone into custody today. The guy that had his knee on Mr. Floyd's neck. And there'll be a perp walk, and there'll be all those things. But at the end of the day, I'll be stunned. I'll be shocked if any of those police officers do a day in prison. Any of them. And we already know the playbook. I mean, we know how it works. You know, their attorneys will say, oh, they can't get a fair trial in the state of Minnesota because everybody has prejudged the situation. You know, so we need to move it. That's the first thing they'll try to do. And then they'll try to move it to another venue. And then I'll move it to a white venue so they can get the white jury that they need to acquit those officers. They'll do everything in their power to figure out how to acquit those officers that did this murder. And I hope I'm wrong. I hope that I'm wrong, but I've seen it play out too many times.
Can we, so what's, you know, I think, you know, for people like me, just like personal advice, like what can I do in this moment to try to be more helpful to what's happening in the world?
I think what you're doing right now is deeply important, and just giving a space for people to voice what they're feeling, what they're thinking, but also, you know, all the other things that I talked about earlier. You know, educate yourself, figure out what things there are to educate yourself with, and then digest those things, and then take that knowledge and act on it based on what you've learned in how you program your season, on who you hire on your staff, on how much power those voices have within that environment. That's really, really important. As an African-American leader of a basically largely white organization in a largely white town, and even though I'm the leader, you know, I'm under no illusions that there's love there for me, because there are people that have tried to fight every progressive thing that I've tried to do, to fight white supremacy or to fight anything, any of the ills that have caused this thing today. So it's a constant fight and a constant struggle, but it's easy to demonize me. It's harder to demonize someone who looks like most of the community that's here. So you have a particular power and a particular voice should you decide to use it in that way.
How many years have you been in Tempe so far?
4 years now.
And how has that struggle changed? How has your time been here? How, you know, I can't imagine that it's all been easy, but you've had a lot of victories along the way.
Had a lot of victories, have a lot of allies, have great city council members and mayoral support, have great staff support. The staff is amazing that I work with every day. We've had comprehensive training in equity, diversity, and inclusion. That's another thing that your organization, it helps for everyone to be comprehensively trained in equity, diversity, and inclusion, and keep training on it, because it's like like going to the gym. You can't just stop. I went to the gym 2 days, I'm good. You know,
it is actually how I do it. So I appreciate the correlation there. Yeah. Yeah.
So it can't be that, right? But it was difficult at first, because to get people in a community used to a new face, a new kind of programming, a new kind of inclusive programming was very difficult with some people in the community, and still is. But largely, the community has signed on to what we're doing and the vision that we have at Tempe Center for the Arts, and they showed it by voting for the arts and culture tax, which supports us. They voted at 68% for that. So that was a great vote of confidence in the work that we've all done to try to make arts and culture a powerful, impactful a segment of our community. So there's a lot of great support, and people have really formed a protective kind of bubble around what we're trying to do, even though we do have detractors and enemies, as you know, in any of this stuff. If you're trying to push against the envelope, if you're doing anything other than Mary Poppins, then you're gonna ruffle some feathers, you know. And
well, you have ruined our season announcement, which is going to be 8 months of Mary Poppins. That was our plan of how to get through this. Yeah.
I mean, you know, how are you finding things since you've been here? Because has it been a year yet?
It was like a year, like last week or a week,
Yeah,
before
there
to be
you
able
go.
to do it.
Congratulations.
Oh, thank you. I made it a year.
That's right.
I
That's
mean,
good.
the last 2 months we were in lockdown, so that, you know, it was a little different.
Right.
No, you know, I knew fully what I was. Well, here's the rule. They always tell you as an artistic director, it's always worse than they say.
Yeah,
That's right. Like that is the like, so like when you come in and you're like, oh my God, guys, it's worse. It's like you should, everyone knows that. No organization, you know, it's like dating. Right. Everybody, like, you don't learn the real stuff till day 4, right? No. Like that. Nobody, if you put it out on date 1, no.
That's right. No.
But I have really loved my time here. I have, you know, the thing that I have found is that everybody is really hungry for, you know, I think what it is that we're doing. And I think it's interesting. We work with Lavage and Stephen Heights, and they were talking about, they were doing all these studies for, you know, the governor about like, where is Arizona, you know, interested in going right now. And we all seem to be exactly on the same page, where like Arizona is ready to be a national leader, and it is ready to shed the image of gun-toting, backwards, you know, space, you know, out in the desert, because like that's just not what it is, right? It's Phoenix is the 5th biggest city in the country, and that doesn't count Tempe.
That's right.
You know, or count you know, Mesa or Gilbert or Scottsdale, or, you know, and so like it is ready to be a cultural powerhouse, I think, at the time. And, you know, I just look around, you know, even before this call, we were talking about Sojourn Theater, and we're talking about, you know, like that now that's based out of ASU, and that you're here and that I'm here. Liz Lerman, right, who is, if anyone who's ever attended a talkback has heard her name, you know,
right. That's right.
Working in our city.
That's right.
And you look at what ASU is doing, and U of A, and Hank Stratton out. I mean, it's just like, it really is like a moment in Arizona that it feels like this is the Avengers of putting on, you know, theater for the country, or not the world, to pay attention to. And so it's our moment, right? It's really our moment. And so either Arizona kind of grabs it and we all run with it, or, you know, like any sports thing, or we rebuild and suddenly we start over again. But this is our, you know, this is our moment right here. So I've loved being a part of it, because I feel that energy with so many of the people that we talk about. And I had I'll get in trouble for this, but we had like a visioning task force meeting yesterday, and I was so inspired by board members that were just like provocative was the word that they kept using when they talked about what they loved about our theater. And so I was like, oh, that, to me, that's exciting, right? That we have donors and board members that are interested in leading and interested in being a part of it. And so for me, it's all tied together, right? Because we had that meeting yesterday about being provocative, and then, you know, you watch what happens in the world, and then I'm talking to you, and I think like, well, it can't just be buzzwords that we say, right? It really, like, whatever our values are, we have to live them, or they don't mean anything, or we just have like talked a good game and we haven't really changed anything.
That's true. No, you really do. And going back to what you said too, when, you know, it's always worse than they say, right? So you know that on any new post you get, there's a big plate of steaming, you know what, waiting for you somewhere. And you can kind of smell it. You can get a whiff of it maybe, but you know it's somewhere. Where is it? Where is it? And then finally, oh, there it is, right there.
Yeah.
So, and then you have to go to work. But I mean, for me, my values of social justice and providing platforms for marginalized and disenfranchised people to have their voices heard that's who I am. You know, that's what drives me. And for that, it doesn't mean just people of color. It means all marginalized and disenfranchised people, whether they're women, people of color, LGBT people, the disabled, economically disenfranchised, seniors, youth. These are all marginalized communities. And so we have to stop kind of looking at issues of marginalization and disenfranchisement as just affecting people of color, and that white supremacy just affects people of color. It affects white people too. It's a sickness that is killing white America. So it's not only us, but it's also white folks that are dying from this disease, and we have to eradicate it. I think art is one of the best ways to make people reflect on what they're doing and how they're doing it, and maybe recalibrate to do something better.
Can you, I know we're still trying to figure out what's the next step for Arizona Theater Company, and when will people be back, and when is it safe, right? With safety always being the first thing. Do you have a sense of, for Tempe Center of the Arts, like what you're thinking or how the response is?
We're all in the same boat, right? As far as, we've been doing a lot of online programming and arts and culture, and as far as TCA is concerned, we're taking it step by step, tentatively, right? We're looking at a September date, but we've pushed all of our original programming to January and after, January 21 and after. There may still be some rental situation there, but we don't know. We really don't know. It's so tenuous right now.
And you've already announced that January 20
January 2021, softly. We haven't made a hard announcement on it, but
I think you just did. I think you just spilled it. I think we have like breaking news here. Yeah.
Well, yeah. Our original programming. So our presentations and any theatrical performances that we would do originating out of TCA wouldn't be until January. But there may be rental opportunities that people may take advantage of if it's safe. We just don't know yet. It's all tentative. How about you?
I think we're looking at every model possible in terms of what it is, and just trying to figure out like when will it be safe for people to come back, and how to not be overly optimistic, but how to try to meet people where they are, and this, the crazy thing is that it feels like a month ago, it was like a lifetime ago in terms of information, and so we don't know what a month will bring. I think yesterday, right? So yesterday, Berkeley Rep announced a 7-play season that they're doing, and the Denver Center for the Performing Arts announced that they're canceling their entire season. So you are getting both ends of the spectrum in terms, and Denver and Berkeley are not that far apart. Like they're states next to each other. We're not even talking about crazy different parts of the country. So I think, it's really trying to make a call on what is best for each organization, and trying to figure out like how to watch. And, Denver canceling it's like 25 shows, right? In terms of what it is.
It's crazy.
And Berkeley Rep going forward with new musicals and new plays, like Joanna Fowler can't be stopped, So I think we're in the middle. We're trying to make the right call, and we're trying to just like track everything along and try to, we're trying to keep everyone informed when there's no information to pass out. That's the tricky part,
I know that. That's really difficult. And I've heard some people even saying that they're not going to start their season until fall of 21.
Right.
And then some people saying it's not going to be till January of 22 even.
Oh.
So that's as far out as I've heard. And anywhere in between, as you know, Joe Hodge is March with a much truncated season for the Guthrie. So who knows? We're here, and we're in a great place. And 250,000 people move here to Arizona every year.
No, and half of baseball is going to be played here like tomorrow.
That's right. That's
what I mean? So who knows what's going to happen?
Exactly.
Ralph, I just want to thank you so much for coming on the show. You've been fantastic. I love chatting with you. I'm so glad to be here in the state with you. Thank you for everything that you're doing.
Same. Thank you, brother. I appreciate it. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.